In this lesson, we're going to take a look at rollovers with swap image behavior. Over in your File panel, go ahead and open Rollover and Rollover N so you can see what we're going to accomplish. In the N file, if you'd like to go ahead and turn on Live View and just roll your cursor over it, you're also welcome to open it up in a browser if you'd like. We can see we just have some very simple rollovers. The text is in the rollover. So when we take a look at our next chapter and deal with CSS, keep in mind that we might want to keep the text live in CSS and use the rollover part as a background image. But for now, let's take a look at using rollovers as images. So I can turn Live View off, and let's put them in the file. So if I go over to my rollover.html, I see that I just have some content sitting here in my file. So I can delete my content out, and I see just have my cursor sitting in there. We do have that container as CSS so that it keeps it open and available for us. So let's go ahead and put our very first rollover in here. If I go to Insert, Image Objects, and Rollover Image, I want to give it an image name first. So this is just our home button. So we'll just call it home. Now I go find my original image, and in my Chapter 5 folder in Images, we have a folder for our rollovers. And just home.png, and I will choose OK. And in our rollover image, we need to go choose that, and that's my home over.png. It's going to automatically preload our rollover image. So when we use rollovers like this, our browser has to preload both the over and the regular state before it will function. Now I can put some alt text in. So I can just put home, and when clicked go to URL, I can either browse or type it in. So I'm just going to choose my index.html. Again, just making sure that I'm aware of my pathing, making sure that it's in the same directory that I expect it to be. Go ahead and click OK. And now I have my home button. Because we're going to be putting them in order, and in my container I have everything aligned right, when this first comes in, instead of trying to click beside it, go ahead and just use your right arrow to move your cursor to the side of that particular image. Then we're going to go back up to Insert, Image Objects, Rollover Image, and we're going to do the same thing again. So this one is about. Now notice for my image name, I'm not using a capital. This is what is in my property inspector when I name an image. And again, I want to keep it with my typical naming conventions when I'm using HTML and not start this with a capital or end up with any spaces as well. So I'm going to find my original image, and this is about.png, and my rollover image, and about over.png. Now my naming conventions might seem ridiculously simple, but keep in mind that you may not be the only person to ever touch these files, so you want to make sure that it makes sense to the next person, or to you 6 months later. Put my alternate text in here. Maybe make that a little bit more realistic, about snapshots. And this time, I know that all of my files are in the exact same directory, so I'm just going to type about.html and click OK. And we'll go ahead and finish this up. Image, Image Objects, Rollover Image. This one will be Meetings. I'll find my original object there, and now my rollover. And when clicked, make sure I am choosing the correct thing, and I will say OK. We've just got a few more. So image, image objects, rollover image, photo walks. I will find the original. The over. Put in my alternate text. And browse for my URL. So you can see just putting a basic rollover image is fairly simple. So simple, in fact, that we might want to tackle a disjointed image. So if you go ahead and open disjointed and disjointed end, I'm going to scroll down just a little bit and turn on my live view. So when I mean a disjointed image, instead of just a rollover, my disjointed portion of that is that when I roll my cursor over some image, then another image pops up. So you can see in the end, when I roll my cursor over each of the thumbnails, then the actual full-size image of it shows down below. This is a great technique that can be used in a variety of ways. For instance, on my home page, I could use this technique to show what might actually be on that page. So if I'm rolling my cursor over a menu item, then there's another portion on my page somewhere that's showing what is actually on the particular page. It's a great technique and clients love it. So let's move over to disjointed.html so we can actually make this happen. So we have our thumbnail images in our document already. We have a blank spot already for the rest of our images. Then there's a few things that we need to set up first before we do that. So in the actual thumbnail images themselves, if I don't name them here, when I go over to my swap image behavior, I'm not going to be able to figure out which image I'm going to swap with what. So let's go ahead and name these properly first. And notice that I am clicking my enter or return key after each time I type something into any field inside of Dreamweaver, just to make sure that it takes what I've typed in. I'll click on flowers and on pelicans. Windmill. And now we can put in our blank image. So to make this work properly, what we do is we put in a blank image first. We name our blank image. All of the other images that are then going to swap with the images that we have here need to be the exact same size as our blank image. So I've got an image here. Now I could maybe have the windmill, for instance, ghosted back, and then when I roll my cursor over it, you see it in full color. And then when you click on it or roll over it, then the actual full-size image appears. It really depends on how you want to accomplish this type of technique or the application that we're going to use it in. So now I put my cursor over here where we're going to add our blank image. And I either can find that in my assets. I do have a folder for our disjointed images. Let me scroll this over just a little bit farther so I can actually see. So I can just grab the blank and put that in its spot over here. And I'm just going to say blank image for swap behavior. And I'll click OK. Because it's blank, I'm making sure that my alt text actually goes and uses something so that if somebody is using a screen reader, they understand what that particular image is for. If you look at your page, you'll notice that that particular image, when I have it selected, is over just a little further than the rest of the images. That's because when I put my cursor in and used my return key, it added the paragraph tag, which is now wrapped around my image. So this is a great example how I can use my tag selector and I see that I have my P tag here. If I right click on it, I can actually remove that tag. And now when I scroll back up, it's on the same X coordinate as the rest of my images. So with that selected, I need to give it a name as well. So that's just going to be blank. And now I need to make sure that I have my behaviors up. So just in case, go to your window menu and behaviors. Scroll that down just a little bit farther. Also notice that when we click on one of our images here, we want to make sure that each one of these has a link symbol in it. It's not going to go to a URL, it's not going to go to another page, it's just a link so that we can add the actual behavior to that particular image. In my behaviors panel, go ahead and click on the plus and choose swap image. Now, had I done the rollovers, just put an image in my file and wanted to do a rollover instead of doing it from my insert menu to begin with, I would do the same thing with it. I would go to swap image and then swap that with the other rollover portion of the image. So now that we have this dialog box up, you see how it's so important to make sure that we've got everything named correctly so that we know what we're doing. Because otherwise, I only know that I have that surfer picture clicked on because I see it over in the side actually selected. So I'm not going to choose the surfer image here. If I wanted to create a rollover with it as well, then I would choose the surfer image first, choose an overstate, and then go to the blank image. But we just have our blank image at the moment. So I'm going to go to my blank image. I'm going to click on Browse. And in my Images folder, in my Disjointed folder, there is my surfer image. And again, it's the exact same size as my blank image as well. So it's going to preload my images, and it's going to restore the image on mouse out to the blank state. So when I roll my cursor off of it, it goes back to looking blank again. It doesn't keep hold of that particular image. I'm going to click OK. And now we see in our behaviors that we have a on mouse over swap image and on mouse out. If I wanted to change this particular behavior, notice that I've got a long list of things that I could choose. So I could say, for instance, on click, so it wouldn't actually work until it was clicked on, but we're going to keep this on mouse over. And then it's going to swap image restore on mouse out and go back to our blank image. And now we can click on our flowers image and go to our behaviors and choose swap image. Again, making sure that I'm choosing the blank image and not the actual flowers image. I would only be using the flowers image if I were using that as a rollover as well. Choosing blank, I will browse to the image then it goes with the flowers, the larger image. I will click OK, and then we'll go to our next one. Add a plus, swap image, go to my blank image, and we will choose the pelicans that go with that. We'll click OK. Now we'll select our very last one, our windmill. And again, the plus and swap image, choosing our blank image, and now our windmill. So now we can click on either Live View and see it here inside of Dreamweaver, or if you would like, you can go ahead and preview in your browser with this particular button right here and preview in your browser of choice. When you roll your cursor over that, now each corresponding picture, you should be able to see where the blank image was. If it's not working exactly right for you, go ahead and go back to your behaviors. Double click on your swap image for that particular image itself. Let me turn Live View off. So for instance, if windmill wasn't correct, I would select it one more time. I would double click swap image and make sure that the right image was then selected. So now we've learned how to do simple rollovers and a disjointed rollover. We're on to image maps next.